They keep talking about this big solar farm that Florida Power and Light is in the process of installing in North Florida, right north of I-10, where I-10 and I-75 intersect. It's just to the west of there.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's a big, beautiful solar farm going in, and good for Florida Power and Light. And better late than never is kind of the tone from above.
That's
because Germany is just kicking Florida's butt all the way around the block on solar installations, and anybody who's ever spent any time in Germany would probably find that hilarious because the weather is so bad.
That's true.
It's just cloudy all the time in Germany, and they're just kicking Florida's butt, and Florida is the laughing stock of the world in how backwards we are.
That's true.
On our solar installations with this weather that is designed for solar installations, and flat terrain which is designed for solar installations.
That's
is beautiful. True. Florida should be covered with solar installations and we could power the country.
That's true.
For whom is the message, and why do you ask? They're talking about corruption and how
oh yeah, they are.
Corruption suppresses that which is the obvious solution, and that quite obviously Florida's government is corrupt, which is no surprise to anybody who's lived in Florida for any period of time. It is.
That's true.
It is revoltingly corrupt. Move over Louisiana. Florida's here with its corruption.
That's true.
Unfortunately. For whom is the message, and why do you ask? And they're referring to voter suppression tactics. So move over Georgia, move over lots of different states.
That's true.
But the point is, Florida is every bit as corrupt as it needs to be in order to not do what the situation actually calls for.
That's true.
For whom is the message, and why do you ask?
Someone up there is talking about corruption and the astral inversions, and also the weather pattern change as a result of climate change, where there are also inversions happening in the weather patterns, and they're drawing lines in between those 3 points.
Oh, I see what they're talking about. This is fascinating. I see that that's what they were talking about earlier today, and I somehow just missed it. I see it now. I'm going to have to start somewhere in this topic, and so it's possible that this will not be explained well, and I'm not sure who's speaking. But I can feel that this person knows what they're talking about. If we can just bear with them through this process, they will get to the point. I can feel that that's true.
I feel that feeling.
And they're saying, if we start to get curious, we can figure out an awful lot of things. And so we notice that the weather forecasting has really fallen apart, at least in Florida. We don't know how it's working in other parts of the world, but in Florida it's not working anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
And what do we know? And what we know is that the wind measurement stations and the data gathering stations that on which the meteorologists base their forecasts, that those stations are primarily located near the surface of the planet.
Yeah, that's true.
Ground zero planet Earth in this dimension. They're not way up high, they're not miles up in the atmosphere, they're down here because that's where they're easy to install and easy to read and easy to monitor and easy to maintain.
Oh, that's true.
And so in the past, when wind blew at this at ground zero, at ground level, in a certain way, it would generate rain.
Yeah, that's
and so the meteorologists are looking at wind patterns and moisture patterns and saying, okay, well, in the past, when these combinations of events occurred, it rained. And so they continue to make the same mistake. They continue to predict rain and it's not actual rain that happens. Every now and then there's a misting thing, which if you've lived in Florida for any length of time, probably makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck because it's super creepy. This is not Florida weather.
That's true.
This is a weather pattern that has never happened in Florida.
That's true.
Beyond here there be dragons. So anyway, these wind patterns occur. It should create rain, but it isn't creating rain. The air is consistently in saying it's going to rain, and then no rain happens. Or saying now it's going to rain so much there'll be flash floods. And there's just like this light sprinkle, or just a very light rain, a happy little rain.
That's true.
So that's not flash flood creating. And where's the rain? What's happening? So apparently, this is what we believe is happening with regard to weather forecasts. And hold that thought, because it has to do with astral turbulence also, friends. It seems that in the past, when air blew at ground level, there was turbulence between the air right here at the ground level and atmosphere way up high where it's much colder. And that turbulence would create exchange of moisture and temperature that would result in rain. And now when that wind is blowing at ground level, it's not resulting in rain, which strongly suggests, and some might say proves, that turbulence is not occurring.
That's true.
And therefore we have stratification of the atmosphere. In other words, the greenhouse effect that has been predicted for so long is here. And it's not here in 50 years or 30 years or 20 years or 10 years or 5 years. It's been happening for at least the past couple of years, and that's why the meteorologists look like suddenly they have lost the ability to predict rainfall.
That's true.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So obviously, we think the larger point is that this has to do not only with atmospheric inversions on ground zero planet Earth, which everybody acknowledges is just a test planet that none of the higher powers actually really care about in the larger sense. It was labeled as a test planet. Let's see if we can figure out how to get people to do what they're supposed to do. Let's try this planet. Who will donate some backwater planet? Oh, there, take that one. Which is, we happen to live, these host lives happen to live on it, and that's why these souls are passing through here, because this is a test planet.
That's true.
Which is fine. It's totally fine.
Okay.
It's totally fine. It's a good use of a life.
That's true.
So just as the atmosphere here is, we're creating atmospheric inversions by continuing to burn fossil fuels and continuing to destroy our planet. The astral inversions are also occurring, and mixing that used to occur between dimensions is not happening anymore. And we're noticing this where there's just absolutely no upward flow, and
That's true.
It's happening in the between lives work, and it's also happening in death when we watch people who are dying, and what's happening is they just kind of plop out of the body and bloop, and then they're right next to the body and they're not going up at all.
That's true.
Which is unfortunate. For whom is the message? And why do you ask? What now to reestablish upward flow? What now to evacuate the even deeper, denser dimensions? What now? Friends, there's no leadership. If you're waiting for someone else to lead, that's not going to happen. It's up to all of us to do the right thing. And quite clearly right now, we have in this planet dimension combination a crisis that requires immediate action. Immediate action. Now means now, today. We have 12 years to reduce our emissions below I don't know, some point. I'm sorry, I don't have the statistic off the top of my head. But it's a meaningful decrease. And our graph of emissions is continuing to rise at a time when it's got to drop right now. Now means now.
That's true.
To avert these catastrophic conditions, and we're already seeing the inversions. We know because it looks like the meteorologists have suddenly been hit in the head with a piano and they've gone stupid on us. And so obviously something has actually changed.
That's true.
Now, right now, it's up to each of us to do something right now. For whom is the message, and why do you ask? Okay.
That was awesome.
That was good. That's it. That's what needs to be said.